We could look at grace sort of like this. That grace is accepting someone and loving someone and serving someone in spite of what they've done just because they need it. Grace says, I don't really care how you got in this mess. I really don't care how those problems develop. It doesn't even matter to me. If you're the reason you're in trouble, you need somebody that would just accept you and love you and serve you. So I'm going to give it to you in spite of anything just because you need it. That's grace. And the world doesn't get grace. Because we live in a 3 strikes and you're out world. We live in a measure up or you get cut world. We live where we'll have compassion for people whose problems are not of their own making. But man, if you made your bed, then you just lie in it. That's the world we live in. But grace says no. Accept and love and serve because they need acceptance and love and service. And do it just because they need it. It's irrelevant whether or not they deserve it. That's grace. Grace is what God is all about. Titus chapter 2 and verse 11 says, for the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all people. God looks down and sees every single one of us have made our own messes. We've all blown it. We've all screwed up. We've all made really, really bad choices. We have not heeded the warnings of others and our own conscience and God himself. We've decided to go our own way, and we are in a heap of trouble and hurt and isolation and frustration of our own making. And God goes, I don't care if you made the mess. You need somebody to love you. You need somebody to serve you. You need somebody to accept you just as you are. And I'm there. That's God. And you know one of the reasons why God acts this way? This blows me away. One of the reasons God acts this way is because it's the only way we can be changed into the people we were meant to be. It is always true. Unconditional acceptance precedes personal transformation. It's always accept and then grow, not change and then be accepted. Always. Don't we get this when it comes to parenting? Don't we all know that when it comes to shaping young lives, we need to create an environment where they know they're loved and where they're cared for and where mom and dad is there for them and will do anything for them. And no matter how bad that child might act, no matter how foolish they may be, no matter what harmful words they speak, it cannot break the fact that mom and dad are for them, not against them, that they're accepted and loved and served unconditionally. We know that because that environment enables a child to grow and transform into the people they were meant to be. And what is true in natural families is true in spiritual families. And the only way people are ever changed is when they are first unconditionally accepted, valued as is. Grace. Grace just flows out of the heart of God. Grace. You know, if we're ever going to fulfill our redemptive potential as a church, if we are ever going to be a safe place where seeking people can come with their doubts and their dirt, to explore Christianity, to learn about who Jesus really is, to cross a line of faith and commit themselves to him. If we're ever going to be a safe place where people can change and grow into the human beings God always meant for them to be, it's because we have worked like crazy to create a culture of grace, that grace flows from God into us and out of us to anybody we meet, because grace comes before change. Grace. I want to show you three things. Three metaphors that contain powerful messages about our need for grace. And I do so in the hope, with the dream, that something will happen inside of us and we will decide this church is a church where grace lives. This church is a church where people can come as they are. And they will be accepted without condition. And so reflect the heart of God. The first metaphor I present to you is a pot of dirt. This is a powerful message. Check this out. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, beginning in verse 6, it says, I, Paul, planted the seed, Apollos watered the seed, but God made it grow. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God, who makes things grow. See, here's the reality. You and I can't change anyone any more than we can make a seed grow. We can't change our marriage partners. We try, don't we? We can't change our kids. We can't change our family members. We can't change our friends. We can't change the neighbor across the street. We can't change the people we go to with. You and I do not have the power to change anyone. Only God changes lives. That's it. It's like, what do we think? It's like, okay, it's like, do we take a seed and put it in the ground and say, I am now going to make the seed grow? Grow, seed! You were made to grow. Come on, grow. Look at all these other people growing. You're not growing. What's your problem? Does lecturing a seed cause it to grow? Does scolding a seed cause it to grow? Does pointing out other plants growing cause a seed to grow? Can you judge and condemn a seed for not growing enough that it will finally decide to grow? Can you talk sense into a seed? In the analogy of Scripture, we can't cause a person to grow. We can't cause a person to change. We can't cause a person to suddenly believe. We can't cause a person to suddenly want to become different and change, no matter how much lecturing and yelling and condemning and pointing out or anything else that we do. God changes things. Oh, but wait. There is something we can do. We can work the soil, the water, the tend. Because you see, if the soil is right, then the seed will do what it's just programmed by God to do, what God, the light that God sparks in that seed to do. If we just tend the soil properly, then we create an environment most conducive for that seed coming to life the way God intended. And what is true of seeds and soil is true of people and environments. And we can create an environment most conducive to life sparking and changing and happening in other people. We can create an environment most conducive to God being present and working in power. And that environment is called grace. The environment is one where we unconditionally accept as is human beings. Doubts and dirt irrelevant. Because in that, the cycle of sin and shame gets broken and people feel loved and accepted and they become safe enough to explore inside and to let God do that dangerous work He does. It's a pot of dirt, but it's a powerful metaphor. We can't change anybody. So why do we even try? But we can have an impact by creating an environment of grace so God can do His thing and bring life and change.